decades, I've been involved in probably 24 major change initiatives in nonprofit organizations. And I've done it in the roles of staff member, a volunteer board member, and also as an outside consultant. And my experience from that is this. The net result of this, about 25% of the time, we actually achieved the fundamental type of transformation we had hoped at the start, or we had set out to achieve. But in a full half of the cases, the success was incomplete. We made some marginal changes at the edges, but we didn't really achieve the fundamental core transformation we had hoped. And then about a quarter of the cases, the final quarter of the cases, we actually went backwards. We actually wound up in a worse place than when we started. The challenge of change for leaders today is even more imperative because we are faced with an incredibly dynamic and changing situation in terms of funding. Public funding, private charitable giving, contracts with government. All these are changing in fundamental ways, and if we don't find ways that kind of help our organizations adapt and grow, we're going to be left behind. So, from change efforts over the years of this. So I think there are three major reasons why change efforts fail or are incomplete success. One is a sense of urgency. It is not enough to say we need to grow, we need to change, we need to adapt. It's adding that piece saying we need to change now. And that involves a couple things. Number one, you have to, as a leader, you have to paint the picture of the future. You know, we talk about the visioning thing. It really is critical. You have to give people a picture of where you're taking them. But you also need to create a second picture. And this second picture is what the future will be like if you don't change. What are the negative consequences to not changing? So you give folks these two kind of visions. Here's where I want you to go, but here's what's going to happen to us if we don't change. Another reason change efforts fail is consistency of message. So you've created this vision of where you want folks to go, and you've created this other vision about what are the consequences if things don't change. But you need to repeat that and be repetitious, and it needs to be at the forefront of all discussions. John Kotter, who's written just tons of books on profit management, in his research shows that it takes you have to repeat the message about 10 times. If you're doing a change initiative, you need to repeat the message 10 times before staff members or board or major donors understand and kind of comprehend where you're trying to go. The other thing consistency does, too, with the message is that in the day-to-day life of an organization, there are so many side issues, so many small administrative details that have to take place, so many client crises, so many other issues, that it's easy to get distracted and forget where you're going. In The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talked about how we are so busy handling problems along our path that we forget why we're on that path in the first place. So you as a leader need to keep on reminding people, you need to keep on reinforcing that message, that consistent message about what the future, the type of future you're trying to attain. Third reason change initiatives fall short. They're rooted in the organization's weaknesses and not in their assets. Peter Drucker, over the decades, wrote numerous times that you could take your energy, you could focus your energy on fixing your weaknesses, and in the end, what you'll come up with is probably a competent organization, competent but mediocre. Or you could take that same energy and focus it on what you do well, and then become a world-class organization. So one of the things that we try to work with an organization is assessing their strengths. What is it they do well? What is it they do better than anybody else? And build upon those things. That's where your change initiative has to be rooted, is in your strengths. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of energy trying to correct weaknesses, and you'll wind up average. So when you start out, keep in mind the three things we talked about that can sabotage your efforts as you are leading your people into the next generation.